Giannina, I ask you, will you marry me?
So, our first night in Mexico, I tore his clothes off. I mean, I don't know anything about you outside of here.
You will be enlightened when we get back to Rio.
I don't want to wait, I'm impatient.
You don't have to take a great moment and crush it with something because you feel like it's going too good.
Listen to me, stop interrupting me, please, for the love of God.
I have been listening.
Do you take Giannina to be your lawful wedded wife?
I do not.
What's your status with your ex?
There is no relationship with us anymore. I support you. I like you.
He kind of does this thing where he kisses up my arm very slowly. I shouldn't get the ick when someone kisses me.
I like Francesca a lot. One day she's in it, and then the next day she starts to pull out a little bit.
It's actually very easy and tempting to watch the journey of Damian from season 1 of Love is Blind and the more recent Perfect Match and say, okay, he deserves what he's getting because of what he did to Gigi in Love is Blind, abandoning her at the altar, and now Francesca's doing the same to him. But actually, if you look more closely, you see that all three of them are actually responsible and to blame, for the lack of a better word, for the things that happen to them because they all have weird attachment issues. And I can't help but think of a term called disorganized attachment that I heard Dr. Dawn Elise Snipes, who also has a YouTube channel here called Doc Snipes, and she describes disorganized attachment as someone who has both anxious and avoidant attachment at the same time. Because classically we hear of, the anxious attachment, the person who's always clingy and needy, and the avoidant, their partner is someone who just avoids them and runs away, and they kind of are a magnet to each other. But there are a lot of people, well, I don't know if a lot, but there are some people who have disorganized attachment where they have both. And I really think Damian, Gigi, and Francesca have this kind of disorganized attachment. And we're gonna get into it in this video. But I think a big component for all three of them, and basically anyone who appears on reality TV, is there's also the component of wanting fame and validation so much that I think that also gets in the way. Being overly concerned with what other people think and the optics of things and how things are appearing rather than focusing on the person in front of you and being present.
I am so excited to find my perfect match. I'm cute, I have great boobs, I'm great in bed, and I'm super sexy.
One thing that I don't believe in is roles. So I want to ask you, will you marry me?
And that last one from Gigi really cracks me up when she's like, oh, I'm not into labels or roles, as if she doesn't like the feminine role. Girl, you're like a Barbie, which is fine. I mean, you're gorgeous. She's adorable. But she presents herself in the most feminine of ways, in traditionally feminine ways. And she's like, oh, get up. I'm the one who's going to get on my knees. Oh, girl. And someone I've lip-synced to before called Abraham Hicks has something very special to say about how that the way to let love into our life and know our worth and what we deserve is to drop this obsession with what other people think of us.
And so in order to have a discussion about self-allowing or worthiness, you first have to begin by acknowledging I'm doing it all. I'm denying it or allowing it. So if you could stop trying to see yourself through the eyes of others and let it all be about how it feels, then this would clear up easily.
Hey guys, it's me in denial, your favorite drag therapist. And now I can actually say I'm your favorite drag therapist because my channel has been blowing up. Guys, thank you. We've crossed the 5,000. The journey to 10K starts. As I always say, I'm in denial so you can wake up.
Honestly, I don't feel fucking great.
So, disorganized attachment. That's basically having the combination, as I said before, of the anxious and avoidant attachment together. What that means, you're always in a double bind. You're anxious and clingy and you're scared that the other person's gonna leave, but at the same time, you're very defensive about being that way, so you just always run. And there are 5 signs for disorganized attachment. First, you're in constant need of reassurance, but you can turn on a dime when that abandonment wound is triggered. The second sign is hypervigilance to rejection. Third sign is impulsive behavior. And fourth sign is when the person doesn't communicate their needs, but feel extremely hurt when those needs aren't met. And the fifth sign is emotional dysregulation. And we're gonna get into all of those.
I'm 100% crazy or 100% sweet. And a lot of people can't handle that.
And that's exactly the first sign. When you constantly flip-flop between being extremely needy of reassurance and loving and tenderness and all of that stuff, and then you can just flip. And Gigi and Damian, my God, that's their whole arc in the season 1. It's insane how they just are so lovey-dovey and they just talk about each other in this fairy tale way, and then they just flip and start fighting. And nobody describes it better than Lauren. God bless Lauren from season 1 as well.
Gigi and Damian are like the Da Vinci Code. It's hard to crack.
And if you remember Gigi from the show, her whole journey was this kind of flip-flop between being so angry that he's not listening to her. Listen to me, you motherfucker.
Listen for 2 seconds.
And then 2 seconds later, she's like, what are you even? You're so amazing. This one scene after they fought on the boat, which she had a point about when he was talking about escaping reality, and she was asking him, like, what are you trying to escape from? Like, what reality? And he just shut down. I was with her on that one. But then she immediately, after the fight, when they were sitting and discussing it, she's like,
The things that you do on a daily basis, I'm like, how? How? Like, this isn't real. Like, this man is literally a gentleman.
what are those things that he's done that you're like, what are you? Like, what? And if you look at Francesca from Perfect Match, which was a little bit less intense because Perfect Match is basically about hooking up. They say it's about finding your perfect match, but they're just always half naked in bikinis. And it's like, girl, what match are we talking about? They're just trying to stay in the villa, which is basically them trying to stay on camera. So that show is, and also there's a big turnover, so they're constantly new people walking in and out. So it's not as, you don't follow the same people, you don't have like the character development that's on Love is Blind, but obviously the need for love and validation is in everyone. Even if you're on those shows that move very fast, your true needs cannot be hidden for too long. So you see it with Francesca as well. It's like, I'm over here living the dream, oh, Damian is the one.
This is great. I'm living the dream over here.
I just wanna hold you.
And then, like, literally, an episode later, she's like, I want him out.
Do you want to see if he's okay? Like, I don't know.
If you want me to leave the conversation, you can just ask that.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Side note, I don't get why all these women are into Damian. Like, I don't see it. I mean, he's not ugly or anything. He's just a normal looking person, but I don't get it. What I do get, though, is this guy on Perfect Match, this kind of Viking looking one. Woo, girl. Have to fan myself every time he's on screen. That I get. That you can lust over. But Damian, girl. But then I was thinking about it. What is it? Because I watched the whole first season of Love is Blind for this video. You're welcome, girl. So as I was watching Damian on the show, I started to pick up on signs of extreme confidence. Like, this guy really thinks he's the shit.
So I took the bow off the box and I put the bow in my right hand because I am your gift.
And confidence is half the battle. I mean, if you can carry yourself with a certain confidence, then of course, people are going to be into you. Now the second sign, hypervigilance to rejection. And you really feel it in this one scene at the gym where both Gigi and Damian were arguing when it was getting closer to the wedding time. At the beginning of that scene, Damian actually had some valid points about Gigi's kind of like flip-flop attitude. But because he's so hypersensitive to being rejected, he just lost all sight of those and was just focused on the fact that she's on her phone. And the whole argument turned into discussing why she's on social media and why she ignores him.
You're on social media and you're like this, talking to me. Like, yeah.
I get alerts. People tell me, hey.
You know how many times I've posted on social media since I've been back? Not once. You know how many times I've
care.
posted? I'll message you and like, you post stuff, like you don't reply back for 8 hours. You're like, sorry, my phone was turned off, I was busy. And then
I called you in between your texts.
I know.
Are you serious right now? This is literally wasting time.
You make me an option, not a priority.
And another beautiful example of hypersensitivity to rejection is Francesca on Perfect Match. And just a quick note for context, the way Perfect Match works is you're coupled up with someone in the villa, right? And if you win a challenge, you have the option of bringing other people in. So Francesca was having a good time with this guy called Dom, whom she's really focused on why he's, not hitting on her so hard because she's used to guys just being all over her.
You got the bed, like, that look mad comfy over there, like, I can stay over there, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable at all.
But I'm really surprised Dom hasn't made a move yet. It's not usually what happens to me.
It was like not adding up. Like, why is he not making a move? And he's too gentle and too sweet and too all of that.
I kiss like a dad?
No, I don't think you kiss like a dad. I feel like, I just maybe wasn't aggressive enough.
And then when she had the chance to bring someone in, she brought Damian.
So I have to be honest with you. I feel like I need to have more conversations with Damian tonight.
And even though she left this guy Dom for Damian, she was just focused on why that guy is ignoring her. Dom, the guy she dumped for Damian. Like, why is he hooking up with another girl? And she couldn't bear it. Like, he told me he loved me. And she was just focused, like, she wants him out of the villa. That girl.
It's awkward for you because, like, he told me he loved me last night.
She's so hypersensitive to rejection that she interprets him moving on as rejecting her, even though she's the one who rejected him. And the third sign is impulsive behavior that ends up harming you.
I self-sabotage all the time.
I'm a self-sabotager. I realize that.
I do like the self-awareness of self-sabotaging behavior, but at some point, the things that we say about ourselves create a story that we start believing. So if you go on in the world just calling yourself, I always self-sabotage, I always ruin everything, I always push people away, that narrative starts to become true, almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So yes, acknowledge the self-harming behavior.
But we also want you to speak more about what you desire. It's fine with us if you face reality. We just wish you'd be a better selective sifter about which parts of reality you face. We want you to believe in solid relationships that feel good all day, every day.
And now the fourth sign, not communicating your needs, but being extremely hurt when those needs aren't met. And that really came up in that boat scene that I mentioned.
I can't make him open up. What are you escaping from?
Reality.
Okay, why?
Because I'm here and I'm enjoying this. When you go on vacation, it's to escape your everyday routine.
And that episode was aptly called Last Night in Paradise. This is basically when they're about to enter the real world after they first met.
You're not understanding what I'm trying to tell you, so.
Well, you're not saying it.
I am telling you, you're just not listening to me.
So I said, I'm enjoying being here with you and enjoying the moment. And you started going down this whole road of
What
overthinking
whole road?
everything.
I'm not overthinking. I'm just asking you a question.
And the scene starts off well. Everything is honky-dory. He's like, oh, I'm a lucky man, as she's taking off her thing and being in a bikini. Which, by the way, like, I say this in so many episodes about Love is Blind. Even though the show is about love and getting, you know, the love of your life and all of that, the sexual undertones, it's like, I think all of these people are confusing sex with love.
There's that little number.
I am a lucky man.
And then Gigi starts talking about, you know, soon they're gonna go to the real world, back to their jobs and their families, and reality is gonna kick in. And Damian says something very interesting about, I don't want to face reality.
What are you thinking?
Thinking that I don't understand. It's an escape.
What do you need to escape from?
Work and drama and everything else.
What do you mean drama?
And she rightly, you know, pushes back on that. Like, what reality are you escaping? Like, what is it that you're afraid to go back to? And there's clearly something bothering him. And it was very obvious because later on, when they talked about this argument later that night,
I have a good career. I have a good job. And I sacrificed that coming here. It scares me not to be able to give you what you deserve and not, like, to get a place and to possibly lose my job. All that scares me.
and I love her for pushing him on that one because he breaks down and becomes emotional. You can tell there's actually a need in him to be heard. Like he has something he wants to say about this, but he was just shutting it off. And this leads into the fifth sign, which is emotional dysregulation, intense emotional dysregulation, where the person goes from flat to frantic immediately. And that also happened on the boat when you see Gigi, like after she didn't get what she wanted, when she brought it up, she just, okay, I'm leaving.
Oh my God. He doesn't want to talk about it, then I'm done. Oh, fuck me.
And this is her whole storyline on the show. She starts off, oh, everything's happy, and then, okay, I'm done. It was amazing to me, like how easily he can just actually make up with her with these very superficial signs of, like there was one scene where he brought a 5-star chef, you know, to cook a meal, which the producers of Netflix brought. But anyway, she's like, oh my God, this is why I'm marrying you. Girl, that's all it took, a meal. So Gigi's storyline is amazing to me because she goes from this Disney princess thing to being extremely pissed off and loving the fight. She just loves, her adrenaline, you can tell, like she loves, and her fights are a little bit performative. So she's like, listen to me. And she goes to the side of the room or pulls up a chair or like, she does a whole choreography of the fight.
I wanted to work it out so bad.
This is you running, and I'm trying to running, and I'm trying to.
Apparently, that's the one thing that we can't do. So right now, we're going to talk. Please sit.
But why does this emotional dysregulation happen? Like, why does someone like Gigi jump from one extreme to the other? It's because she never learned the tools of how to cope with her feelings.
Because my parents' divorce really fucked me up.
Yeah, it always goes back to the parenting. And I don't mean to be like, it's not about blaming the parents, but it's about understanding the causes of something. And people with disorganized attachment, with this kind of both anxious and avoidant, actually had very inconsistent parenting.
I guess what I'm trying to say is this is something that I've always been afraid of.
So she grew up with a lot of chaos, and that kind of traumatic past really colors our perception and prevents us from seeing red flags. But the red flags are there. Like Gigi can act all surprised that he left her at the altar, but there were so many signs, and she herself knew. There was one scene where she goes like,
"You're gonna leave me till last minute?"
So she knew he'd leave her hanging till the last minute. She always knew it. And with Damian, when he got together with Francesca in Perfect Match, even when things were great in the beginning, he said something about,
There's a connection here, at least for me.
And if there's not, yeah,
2
exactly.
weeks, 3 weeks.
We can mutually agree to explore things with other people.
And I'm not gonna be mad, I'm not gonna make it awkward.
and Francesca as well, even though she spends most of her time talking about how sexy she is and how desirable and she has no feelings for anyone, every now and again she lets it slip how she really feels, that she expects things to go wrong.
I'm really happy, but I'm like, also at the same time, I'm like, fuck.
Stop, just
like,
live in the happiness. Don't manifest anything bad.
I know, because in my head, I was thinking about the past few days of it going wrong. So it's good, don't self-sabotage.
But this turning a blind eye to red flags, actually, we learned it somewhere in our childhood where it was actually necessary to turn a blind eye because you can't be coping with trauma all the time. And I once heard Anna Runkle from the Crappy Childhood Fairy in one of her videos, she describes this situation as your red flag detector broke itself. And I love that. She also talks a lot about crap fitting, which is the idea of how we fit ourselves into crap, where we tell ourselves, oh, things are better than they actually are.
How is everything?
Everything's good.
Yes? Okay, Giannina. You and Damian have 2 years. What do you think about this relationship in the future?
I don't know. It's not that we don't love each other. It's just like, it's not even about specifics.
And this ability to fit yourself into crappy situations and justifying things that aren't okay actually ends up with you in a fantasy land.
It's a dream, and I am here, obviously. I feel like it's a fairy tale.
Something tells me you've always wanted a fairy tale.
Yeah, even though Gigi acts like she's Miss Independent and she doesn't want a guy taking care of her, she just turns on a dime the second, like when they were trying on the wedding dresses. Even though that fight at the gym and like all the other fights before were clear signs that these two should not be together, the second she put on the wedding dress, she's like, oh my God.
Oh, wow. I was trying to put the pieces together. And when I put on the dress, I was like, wow, I can see it. So I took it as a sign.
You don't want to look like a crazy dreamer. You don't want to look like someone who doesn't face reality.
This is something I also learned from chatting with Anna Runkle and lip-syncing to her. Just repeating her words over and over again became part of my system. And it's kind of the filter through which I see things. And now, especially when I watch shows like this, I can't help but see how much sex just colors their perception. And you can see it from the time both of these girls, Gigi and Francesca, met Damian, like how they both scratch his back.
I'm horny. I'm immediately horny.
Speaking of sex, Damian, when there was one scene that was awkward as hell when Gigi kind of like embarrassed him and she brought up the fact that he thinks sex with her is the best sex of his life, but she doesn't think so. And she's like,
You know how you tell me this is the best sex of your life? Have you noticed that I don't return the compliment?
Carl, why are you saying this on TV? This is really cringe. But interestingly enough, about that conversation, she was in the kitchen and he was in the bedroom and they were talking without looking at each other with a wall separating them. And that was the first argument they had. They were able to come to a kind of a reasonable, rational conclusion. And it's funny because they connected in a similar way in the pods without seeing each other. So something about them seeing each other makes them, go crazy.
That's it. All cards on the table. I told you it was all going to come out at once.
Sure came out.
Damian's ex said that he was bad in bed. And part of me thinks he's trying to pursue me because he wants to redeem himself.
Yeah, and it's funny because Francesca was involved with Gigi and Damian in a triangle in Love is Blind. And then 3 years later, she picked Damian to bring him back onto Perfect Match. She brought what Gigi said to Damian about him not being great in bed. She brought it up again, this poor guy.
And prove to the world that you're actually good in bed. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, this show Perfect Match is very sexual and it's very entertaining. It's actually like a cross between Love is Blind and Too Hot to Handle. It's messy as hell, girl. And there's something very interesting about it. Because of this turnover, they all just form these connections, and then if they don't find someone to partner up with them that night and share a room, they have to leave the villa. So there's that kind of anxiety. It's insane.
Just gonna continue to fucking drink, cause yikes.
If you want me to do a deep dive into this show, please leave a comment about it, because there's 4 more episodes coming out and there's so many familiar faces.
Let me ask you this, and this is us not being alpha male.
It's not about that.
It is.
It's always my time.
It's not about wasting your time. It's about you putting your fucking heart on the line.
Nice work on the cross promotion from Netflix. There's Shane, there's Bartiz, and there's a few interesting new characters. And Chloe, that girl from Too Hot to Handle, the English girl, I love her. She's very funny. So if you want me to review Perfect Match, for me, the most interesting person on Perfect Match was this guy, Dom, that Francesca was into before she chose to dump him and bring Damian into the house. What I love about this guy, Dom, is that when Francesca decided to just dump him and not be with him, he was able to move on. Okay, I'm gonna go look for another girl. It shows you that he actually doesn't have this disorganized attachment that these 3 have. Is that, okay, you don't want me? Fine. So when you don't have this kind of attachment wound, this intermittent reinforcement of someone dumping you, then being like all jealous that you're with someone else, doesn't appeal to you. But the sweetest part is when Dom started crying when Francesca left him. Oh my God.
What the fuck did I think? Like, I already knew when I walked in, I had no chance with Francesca. Well, I think I was even with Francesca, we were gonna fucking be happily ever after. Like, fuck no, who the fuck am I, bro?
And everyone went, oh. Here's this young kid, already in his young life, he's decided that things aren't equal because he sees people having different results. And so his assumption is, if things aren't equal, then there must be something wrong with whoever is dishing out the stuff.
I give my all and just get fucking spit in my face, you know what I mean?
And Esther knew it wasn't the time to explain that Source Energy is aware of everyone equally, and that the factor is the letting it in factor, the believing factor, the allowing factor.
But back to Damian and the triangle of disorganized attachment with Gigi and Francesca. When Francesca left him on Perfect Match, he still wanted her. Even though he was trying to hook up with other girls to stay in the villa, he really wanted her.
Do you still want Francesca? Yeah. How bad?
Of course.
Bad. Like 1 to 10. 10.
And to go back to the causes of why people develop disorganized attachment, with Gigi it was clear because she told us the chaotic upbringing that she had with divorced parents. Damian was always, his lips were sealed about his family. But that scene when he was crying with Gigi about...
It's not easy for me to open up because I'm not used to somebody caring.
He has so many expectations to live up to and they cause him so much panic and anxiety. That's actually one of the reasons that Dr. Snipes here, Doc Snipes, she talks about the causes. One of the possible causes for disorganized attachment is having parents who have very unrealistic expectations of you. And of course, there's no way to prove that because we never saw Damian's parents, but something about the way he broke down a fear of what people expect him to give really tells me something about his upbringing. So what's the cure for this kind of attachment wound? Like, how do we end these kind of attachment problems? I think the only way ending such an attachment bond, toxic attachment bond, as possible is when your desire to change overrides the pain of change, because changing is very painful. But I doubt any of these 3 are going to change their attitude, at least not in the near future, because these 3, like many people on these reality shows, are driven, like we said in the beginning, by wanting to be on the show. And something one of the guys on the show Perfect Match called Joey, this guy from the show Circle, I'm telling you, the cross promotion is genius. And he's very funny, this guy Joey. He says something about, until the next show.
Literally just asked me to be your girlfriend on international television. Sure. For the rest of your life, anyone Googles you, like, I'm there too.
To the next show.
Basically saying, okay, these attitudes are never going to change. But there are 2 things that can be done. Basically, the first one is practicing mindfulness. Actually, like doing mindful journaling of your thoughts and the assumptions and the triggers that come up that actually color your perception about what is actually fact and what is stuff in your past, which you do need to heal. But what are the facts that are happening in front of you with this other person? Are they actually abandoning you? Are they actually leaving you? Or are you just losing your mind and becoming emotionally dysregulated? The second thing to do, I think, start with friendships. Because What all this is about is being connected to another human being. But romantic connections maybe can sometimes be a little too intense. And I think when it comes to people with a lot of attachment issues, that's a very long process because of your history. So you need to do a lot of practicing with friends, or at least that's what I try to do. So this brings us to the end of the video. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And
You are under the influence of source energy in every moment of every day. And when you are under the influence of source energy, you feel clear-minded and sure-footed.